A little closer. Hey, folks, it's Lindsey Hudson with SPS back in the building for another SPS Edge Show, and I have my guy, none other than the man, Terry McCoy Jr., the best co-host in the nation. It's like nation, we talking globally. What? You know, give me my respect for another SPS Edge Show. Shout out to our guy, Coach Orlando Watkins, out there making it happen, helping these young ladies with some coach time at basketball. It is basketball season, Terry. No doubt it's that time. If you notice, I'm rocking a Muskegon Big Reds Muskegon Showcase Classic shirt. We'll talk about that in a second. Shout out to my guy, Coach Keith Guy, with the Muskegon Big Reds. They had the big win over Benton Harbor, but that's kind of what I want to talk about going into this prep, basketball overview. But before I get started, man, anything you want to say just to say what's up to the folks before we get going?
Nah, ready to go. We got a good lineup. Michigan State basketball played last night. We got a couple of Big Ten games. We missed that Michigan State-Michigan game, but I mean, the good thing is they played twice, so we'll see them again.
Oh, yeah, and I think that game is going to get made up because that's too big of a game. I mean, that's a moneymaker. That's a nationally televised game in many regards. So, it's going to happen. So with no further ado, let's talk about the kids who always want to get to the next level so they can play on that stage with a Coach Izzo and a Coach Howard. Just last Saturday, I was at the Redmond Powder Gymnasium out in Muskegon. I saw my alma mater, Henry Ford, versus Lansing Waverly, which is my adopted school, one of many in this area. Lansing Waverly came out on top. Shout out to my guy, Rod Watts. We had a great sit-down afterwards, as well as the Deontay Roberts. He represented both football and basketball player, kind of like you, Terry. Then Kalamazoo Central, Coach Ramsey Nichols, who we'll see in Detroit Saturday, and I'll talk about that in a second. They faced off against my guy, Coach George Ward. Detroit King was successful in that regard. And the final nightcap game was Muskegon versus Benton Harbor. And Muskegon got the best of it. But that game was live. Oh, we also got Aaron Mays in the building checking in with us. We got to let y'all know that Aaron, we got the proof of life picture of Aaron letting you know that he's still around, rocking with us. Aaron, we got to get up soon, man. We're going to figure it out. That's my guy, Aaron Mays, right there. There he is. Appreciate you, Aaron. Keep rocking with us. But no, it was a great turnout, man. Let me just tell you something, man. Muskegon, that community, man, I guess all communities have their ways, but, man, they love some basketball. The community was all in, Terry, on this event. I mean, I met great people. Shout out to Mr. Willie, who was the one of the many volunteers. He was kind of holding me down in the area. They got a VIP section. They got season tickets for the games. They say football, you don't even want to mess with football. When they get to rock that football, it's a whole different level, man. But let me tell you something, that Muskegon community showed me nothing but love. And you got to shout out Mr. Scribbs Pizza. If you go to Muskegon, you got to get you some Mr. Scribbs Pizza. I had me a pizza I brought home. I was eating on that pizza for 2 or 3 days, man. So it was a good thing. But moving forward, Terry, on some more hoops, we got a few of those same teams that are going to show their faces again. But, man, that was a 3-game lineup, and that was awesome. But SPS will be in the building this Saturday at River Rouge. That is the new location for a 7-game lineup. Got Birmingham Groves versus Harper Woods. We held it down to Harper Woods, right, for the SPS Stars event. Mm-hmm. Terry, you remember that? River Rouge, of course, hosting. Shout out to Coach Josh Baker against Coach Waddell over at Warren Lincoln. The tradition continues with Persian High School. Doughboys will be in the building versus Warren Fitzgerald. Shout out to Coach Twiggs, as well as Coach Vito Jordan over at Warren Fitzgerald. Then my guy Mike. What's Mike? Mike Smith will be in the building. I'm tripping saying that's not Mike's last name. I'm going to get that right in a second. But David versus North Farmington. I got number love for both those coaching staffs. Number love for North Farmington. Again, Kalamazoo Central will be back. Versus Hamtramck. Shout out to all my Hamtramck Cosmos, from the AD to the players to the coach, Dennis DJ Foster, and of course, Coach Ramsey Nichols. Graham Blank hosted the event last Saturday as well, but they will be in the building versus Detroit King. That's Coach George Ward back in the building. And then Ferndale, my guy Juan Rickman. I was down there yesterday supporting those guys, the Ferndale ball players. Shout out to my guys down there. We'll be going against Coach Bo Neely, former a state champion, and Ferndale was a Final Four team, man. So it's some good basketball, some quality basketball. Want to shout out the sponsors, Gilead, Dick's, as well as Top Cat, Adidas, Puffer Reds, and others in Hustle. But no, man, it's just some quality basketball going on, Terry, and that's what I wanted to put that on our agenda for the night, just to talk about the quality hoops going on in Michigan. And like I told you a couple of weeks ago, it seems like there's a lot of strength and power in the younger classes, the 9th graders, the 10th graders. Shout out to Lansdowne. Shout out to Jaden Savory over at Renaissance, excuse me. So it's a lot of great hoops going on. I'm just very fortunate, man, to be able to be in the building, in that community, being a keeper of the culture. With the interviews and the podcast to follow, man. But any thoughts on what's happening with high school hoops right now?
No, I appreciate you going around and checking these out, because I think a lot of times we get caught with the ball is life and the overtime and all those videos of different players around there. And we got cats that can give any of those dudes buckets, here in Michigan. So I really appreciate you bringing that to us and seeing guys like D, at Waverly going crazy and being the player of the game, and seeing guys like Rob, who we saw at the clinic, and, Landon and, Tyler, all those guys balling. So it's just really cool to see, you bring them to life and seeing their game transfer for the summer into the fall and in the winter. So it's been really nice to see. 7 games, though, man, that is going to be a long day. I mean, what better way, though? What better way on MLK weekend, having teams come in, represent, have fun, because they don't have school on Monday, so they can stay up all night and be ready to play this game and leave it on the court.
And speaking of staying up all night, 7 games means 7 player of the games, 7 coaches to interview. So that's 7 times 2. My math says 14. So your man gonna be hustling. So that SPS is in the building working hard. Hey, shout out to our brother Aaron Mays, who always brings a moral conscience to discussion. He has a very fair question. Aaron says, what do you think about B-ball being played, even though another outbreak of COVID is happening? Aaron, I am so selfish right now, and having gone through the COVID protocols, as they say in the NBA, having had the necessary vaccinations and booster, and trying to do the best I can and practicing safe things. It's hard for me to say, Terry, I'm down with it. I just do the best you can. I don't want to say play at your own risk, but see now, and Aaron, you can come back on me on this, and Terry, you can add this too. I don't know if this is considered a deflection or a fair statement to say, if we stopping on the high school level, why are we still playing on the collegiate and the NBA level?
Yeah.
Now, many can argue there's no comparison, but many can argue, what are you talking about? It's the same difference. It's the same people going to the games. It's just different times with things like that. So, Aaron, I'd like to get your response to that. It's something we've been pushing through on. I have a bias, man. I just want to be in the building. I just want to see it played, and I respect your opinion. I know how you feel. Aaron gave me the agreed, Lindsay, maybe because I said it in a nice voice. Maybe he knows I owe him the next round of food and beverages when we go down to they say in Detroit, whatever or not. But no, man, it's tough, and I do get that. But the other side of it, let me throw this out there, Terry. When we hear about the hospitals being overrun, we hear about Muskegon in particular having to do an outdoor tent. A lot of these people are unvaccinated. A lot of these people are the individuals who have not gone through the necessary protocols, and now they're at this point because they haven't taken the steps in the past. They are more likely to be able to receive, or I should say, be hindered by the COVID vaccine. The COVID-19 virus, especially with the different variations that's going on. Aaron said something else. He said, "I'm just saying, give it 2 weeks and then resume schedule."
It's hard because I was thinking about that too last night. They were talking about the iZone, but MSU's on a pause right now of in-person classes. So it's like they can go in person for classes, but they can't do that. But they can come in the iZone and be next to each other cheering for MSU. So it's like it's hard because it seems like we're picking and choosing when. And it's hard because it's a lot of people making those decisions. It may have a separate person making a decision for the iZone or Breslin Center operations, maybe another person doing it for classes and more on the academic side. You just hear
it's money, sponsorship, television. I mean, I watched Joey Hauser hit the winning bucket against a great Minnesota team. Shout out to what Minnesota's trying to do on the Big Ten Network. Talking about bread, and they're like, hold up. Well, how did Nate Dogg say, hold up? Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, and if I could put up the image, hear no evil, see no evil, it could be considered hypocritical. When we talk about, we gonna let these games happen. I mean, maybe we could even talk about Kyrie with that. But no, Aaron, I totally hear you, man. And it's like, at your own risk, do what you need to do. However, for those who have taken the necessary precautions to protect themselves against the virus and limit the impact COVID can have. I'll say it on the show. I got COVID-19 not too long ago, and I was vaccinated, double vaccinated. I had a booster, and I got it, and I tested positive, and I would liken it to the feeling of like a 48-hour flu, the sweats, the chills. But when I came out of it, I was healthy and well. I even my daughter couldn't go to a holiday party because she was exposed to me. She tested negative, but she also has taken the vaccine. So my point being is, if necessary steps are taken, we'll be able to manage that. So with that being said, we got some great questions coming from some great people, particularly my guy Larry Johnson, talking about EV. Is Lansing ever the best hoop in Lansing? I don't know, man. I think what Rod Watts is doing over at Waverly is good from what I've been seeing. And I've been spending time with Rod, and Rod will be the first one to tell you, despite them having some wins. I mean, they took Brother Rice, one of the top teams in the state, probably a Final Four team, to the wire. He also says Mason Woods from EL is a talent, great father. Also, Terry. Oh yeah, those are my folks right there, Mason Woods, Terry Woods. Yeah, and I saw that he got some recognition just recently and whatnot. I think they're having a little challenge turning the corner right now, but it may be picking up. But right now, man, I would say the team to watch when you talk about the talent in the future is, I mean, they're all great guys. I mean, shout out to Trayshawn Adams, and shout out to Rod Watts. And I know that Eastern is going through a rebuilding process with Ron Banks and whatnot. My guy Dale Beard over at Sexton. But right now, I would lean towards Waverly, and I don't say that because of a bias, because of my relationship with them. But I would just kind of lean towards Waverly right now because of their depth and what they have. I don't know. What do you think, Terry?
I would agree. I think Everett to me is a close second. They got two really good guards, Dre and Chris over there. But I just think that Waverly, the way that they've been playing all season and all, throughout the 4 seasons, like they were talking about Summer Ball in Detroit, playing against a lot of these guys who they've seen, and staying together, seeing them come through at the clinic and seeing game ready at the clinic, and I was like, okay, they're really coming, for heads this year. So I was thinking, my thought is how they've been improving, with taking Brother Rice down to the wire. I just feel like they're the best team right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if Everett gives them a run for their money. But I do just think that Waverly is just too complete right now. I would just say they're the best team.
Yeah, Larry is still going on. Larry, we appreciate you chiming in. Larry says, in Lansing over the last 22 years, we've had stars like Marcus Taylor, Ron Banks, shout out to Ron Banks, Hinton, Dante Hinton, that is, Buckets, Denzel Valentine, who just landed with the Utah Jazz. Why hasn't the city produced these kind of players since, or are these cats one of a kind that don't come along? I think it's more the latter. I think it's like these guys don't come along often. You just name guys who are pro-level players, and I think it's easy to take that for granted, man. And then let's also say that this is an era with Valentine being the last of that era, man. But what's unique about Denzel is, you talk about his dad, Carlton, and how there was just a culture that they created from what I understood. I wasn't in Lansing at the time, being in Detroit, but, you just don't really have that full type of support going around. I wouldn't be surprised if Walt Cooper, Terrence Cooper, and those guys produce, somebody out of their family because they're just on top of it. They're just kind of just supporting it. But there's also some other kids coming along from Waverly again, so who's to say? But go ahead. What do you think, Terry?
I think it's a little bit of both. I just think that one, a big reason why they're not able to produce is like the resources. And as we know, resources comes with like attendance, as small as attendance, count day, school of choice. I think all those factors have to play into it. And, I think having guys like Banks and Hinton and Taylor, and those players are one of a kind. But I think what's hindering it now is the fact that there's not really much of an emphasis right now. One, COVID is making it hard, so players aren't even in school right now. They're off doing Lord knows what. So I just think that it's really a resource thing to me. I think there is talent in there. It needs people like us to continue to be in there and to continue to mentor and just talk to these guys, man, because I see the talent all the time. I was at Eastern on Wednesday doing tutoring, and I'm seeing, just giants come in and out, and they're like, oh, we play, and I'm helping them with their grades. And it's just like, man, like there's talent there, but they just need the time for people to invest in them. They need the resource and some structure right now. And I think that's what the rebuilding process is right now. Detroit, I think, is on a different level because there's a level of excellence that they know they need to reach. Like Detroit already knows what it takes. I think Lansing right now is they see it and they're trying to figure out what can we do to get to that level. So I always feel like Lansing is always competing with Detroit, trying to figure out what can we do to get our players to that next level. And I think with Watts going and taking his teams to Detroit, he knows that that's the level of play that his team needs to compete on that level.
And speaking of that, shout out to Terry McCord, Senior, talent leads the city here. And I do see people making comments regarding college basketball. We're going to get right into that, and I appreciate those comments. But, I remember watching Waverly against Henry Ford. Henry Ford is a state championship team, too. I just saw them boys execute a couple plays, man, where they moved the ball around, got some backdoor cuts, and I think you're right. The level of talent that they're playing is making them step up, and making them believe, on some Ted Lasso. Like, they believe they can compete. I love Darius and how he's playing over there. Darius Welch, and he hasn't seen a rebound he doesn't want to grab. I mean, these guys are believing in themselves, and it's only seeming to grow. So this is what we're going to do right now. We're going to take a quick break, talk to our sponsor. We're going to come back and talk about some NCAA hoops, both men's and women's rankings, and that's right on time. We have a number of comments from our great followers and supporters asking about that. So let's shout out our guys. Dick's Sporting Good. Love me some Dick's. I'll be rocking some products from Dick's this weekend. I think my whole wardrobe will come from Dick's, Terry. It's good like that. Shout out to Gilead Sciences as well for all the work they're doing. We had a chance to meet Tiffany West a while ago, and we appreciate her representing Gilead. But none other than my guy Horatio Williams. We'll be with the Horatio Williams Foundation this Saturday over at River Rouge High School. Boy, they set it out. Shout out to Superintendent Derek Coleman, not to be confused with Derek D.C. Coleman of New Jersey Nets fame. But Derek Coleman is actually my frat brother, one of my big bros, and he's a superintendent of schools at River Rouge, and we appreciate him. So with that being said, what we want to do is let's talk about a little college basketball. We got a lot of great comments, starting with college hoops. College Hype says college basketball is getting into the midpoint of the season. Who are the best 3 or 4 teams and players you all have seen? So let me just tell you this. So talking about, following our program tonight, when you want to talk about let's see what we got here. Men's hoops, man. I saw that Baylor Texas Tech game. Hey, yeah. Baylor that game was a great game, man. And Baylor and Texas Tech stepped up, but Baylor got some beasts. I mean, I had my daughter watching the game. I said, baby, look at that. She was like, wow. But I think Baylor is still going to be in the running despite them losing and going from being undefeated to losing one game. I mean, it happens, man. I mean, any high level of sports, anybody can be beat at any given time. And, if Texas Tech, that's a, in-state rivalry, you're going to circle that on the calendar. Them guys are getting up for that. They're going to play their very best game. And unfortunately, when you're the number one team, man, everybody's coming for you, and you ain't really checking for everybody like that. So I definitely like Baylor. Duke is still doing really well. It's a lot that's happening with that. And we probably can segue into Michigan State as well. Terry, I'll let you touch on that. But I also shout out our friend Moni Williams. She said, Michigan State is hard to judge. I'm hyped. We winning. But then we haven't played none of the best teams. It's weird because we played Mini twice. About to play Northwestern again. So is our record better? So what's happening is that the schedule is probably backloaded, Moni, where you have these teams up front. But let me tell you something. I always repeat this. When I covered Michigan State basketball in person pre-COVID, I would just be tripping, man, because any given night in the Big Ten, any team can bring it to you. It's that talented of a league. So, you got to realize that even though Minnesota took Michigan State to the wire, Minnesota's a Big Ten team. This is not no preseason, Division II type program. Minnesota is a Big Ten team coached by a former Big Ten player that played at Minnesota, trying to prove something. They got a great squad. So you're going to have that going in and out. So I don't know. What do you think as it relates to going back to the rankings, Terry, as far as, to Hoops Hype point about the top 3 or 4? I'm sorry, those are the women's rankings. We'll talk about that next. But just the rankings and how teams are looking. Gonzaga, I'm sorry, man. Y'all could be number 1 all season long. Until y'all win a national championship, y'all just a placeholder. You know what I'm saying? So
and that's the one for me is a little surprise. 2 losses, Duke with 2 losses, Kansas 2 losses. We're seeing a lot of these teams lose right now. Even with Purdue 2 losses, I thought Purdue would kind of last and maybe take a couple licks in Big Ten play, but for them to come in right now with the 2 losses is really, really interesting. I think the thing with MSU, the Nebraska game really showed for me. There are a lot of good teams in the Big Ten. Nebraska's one. I think they have like 11 freshmen on their team. I saw that stat playing 11 freshmen. A lot of guys that they're plugging and playing. They're getting guys from the portal and junior college ball. And so Nebraska's a team to watch. Minnesota, another team, something to prove. But one thing I saw last night that I think needs to be said is just how Tyson Walker is fitting. I feel like Tyson Walker right now, I think we're not doing him much justice because we keep thinking of Cassius. Like Cassius is a one-of-a-kind guy. Tyson Walker is not going to be a Cassius Winston. And I don't know if that's something Izzo is kind of struggling with right now, where he has that level of expectation for a point guard.
He's big on his guards, though. You know that.
He's big on them, but Tyson is a guy that he feeds off defense, which Cassius is a little different. He creates his own momentum on the offense. Tyson creates it on the defensive side. He also gets his guy involved. He doesn't really look to score as much, which I think needs to improve as Big Ten play continues to, as games continue to come. But I just think that last night, I don't think that game should have been close if Tyson Walker's on the floor, though. I had to look at the stat. I'm like, did he foul out? Or is it – because it was just really weird because I'm seeing hiccups. I'm seeing Christie fumble the ball. I'm seeing Hogarth throw up a couple bad shots late in the game. Like some of his shots, yeah, I'll take that on the 10-minute mark in the second half, but not when it's time to win the game, man. You got to know when to take shots and know your percentage of making it. So I just feel like right now he's still trying to figure out Walker. I think he had a great run in the game where he hit a couple of shots back-to-back and had to call timeout to cool him off. I just think right now they're still trying to figure out themselves, and I think that these games are close for a reason. It's conference ball. They already know what each team is going to do. Right. And I think this team is actually pretty young. They feel young and experience-wise. Like Christie, freshman. Akins is playing a lot of minutes now. This is the first time Gabe Brown is in the spotlight, in my opinion, this time. And Bingham now has to step up, Hall. So I think these guys are being called on really early, and they've been able to win games, especially home games, which are really important in the Big Ten. So we can't really complain. It's backloaded, but they're taking these licks, and they're still winning, and they're undefeated, tied for first in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and also, too, I definitely agree with your points. It's not a Cassius Winston-led team, but, that score for Joey Hauser may be a game changer for him. Talking about confidence builder. Yeah. To be honest, man, Joey was kind of floating away. Joey was kind of like, becoming an afterthought, so maybe that can be an opportunity for him to really step up and really realize what he can contribute to the team going forward. But overall, though, man, Big Ten play is nothing to mess with, man, so I think any given night, to Moni's point, it's hard. I just think that as fans, or even as an athlete playing, you want to win by 20 every night. You want to dominate. And I think it almost speaks to Coach Izzo's Hall of Fame ability, is that he can take teams that, I have to admit, when I saw this lineup, at the beginning of the season, I was like, he can take those guys and work with them. And it's almost like he's a little bit more better suited with guys who are more blue collar, like a Tyson Walker, or something like that, compared to high flyers, and this is nothing but love with Tom. I saw Tom a couple weeks ago before, I got things started with my PhD program, and he, we kicked it, and he was like, he's not really as suited for a Miles Bridges, or maybe a Jaren Jackson Jr., who's only going to be there for a year, compared to guys that he can mold and work with, and you get that kind of input.
He won't say it. He won't say it and be real with it because he's recruiting those guys still. So he's like, I'm not – like you could tell, especially with the Bates thing and, Rocket Watts and kind of that situation. You could tell that's not him, but he knows, though. But he's not going to say it until after the fact when he's done recruiting, like Coach K.
Spoke it up. Women's basketball, shout out to you. She says, how is Rocket Watts doing at his new school? Anyone checking him? I know that he was injured for a second. Some injury had him sidelined. I catch some of his live. I see him popping up on live now and then. I think he had been working his way back in. I mean, whether it's going to be a tough fit from him. Hey, mama. Hey, Lindsay and Terry. Hey, mother. Hello. Excuse me. Hello, Patricia. But I just think that to say was that a good decision for him to go, it still remains to be seen. But Hoggart right now, how he's playing, did you see Rocket really fitting into that? Also, I want to go back. Hey, Aaron, I'm sorry I missed you on this. You said high school ball is not as structured as in the years past as far as talent team. I don't disagree with that. And then when you add the charter schools to it, instead of schools like a Muskegon being a city school that everyone goes there, the whole city going to one school, there are different opportunities all of the time. So I want to stay with the men's college piece before we go to women. Shout out to Deion Hoops page. You're right. Y'all got to look out for Auburn's hoop team. They are especially deep. Yeah, they have Wendell Green Jr., who's from the Detroit area. Shout out to his dad, Wendell Green. They have the brand always in my bag, doing real things, and his cousin just posted something recently saying, his walk wasn't an easy walk, that he, went away, play a little bit of mid-level basketball before going on to Auburn. I think so many people think it's fresh out of your senior year, you walk into a major D1 program. It does not happen like that, So with that being said, we can go ahead and switch over to the women's rankings and whatnot. And what we have here, shout out to, South Carolina. That's our girl, Dawn Staley, leading the way. And I think who made the comment? Oh, women's basketball said, hey, have you guys checked out Dawn Staley with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson? You got to check it out. Yeah, I would need to do that. I'm a big fan of Dawn Staley. I know that'd be good. But, I think we're going to always hear South Carolina. Then you got some of the blue bloods of women basketball. Stanford is going to always be around. Louisville's and work their way back in. But for the most part, I like how Michigan, even at number 11,
Assuming is killing it.
Yeah, I like her. Yeah, I like her a lot, and what they have going on. And then they have a co-cultural dependence over there between Michigan basketball, men's basketball, and women's basketball. But what are you thinking about the women's poll and what they have going on right now, Terry?
I see that UConn slipped back in top 10. South Carolina lost a tough one to Mizzou. I was watching that game. I just feel like they didn't execute down the stretch, which is unusual for them. I really don't see it happening again, honestly. Maryland with 4 losses. I'm really surprised about that. But I would just say the big thing, and I know we didn't see it on the screen, but Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is a team for me. They knocked off UConn. They had a couple losses. They lost to Purdue. They lost to Auburn, and they also lost to Louisville, who gave Louisville a run for their money. Just Georgia Tech's another team where it may just be right now, and it may be blooming early, which is something that we've seen before. But I mean, it's a team that can get into the paint, hit outside shots, and they play hard and they rise to the occasion and play tough teams tough. So and NC State too. So the ACC has some top teams, but I just think right now South Carolina is too tough. But I do see. I think we're going to see a lot of upsets from unusual areas, just because I think now in women's basketball the game has kind of caught up to itself, where now it's competitive now. We're seeing teams beat teams that we're not used to seeing. And I hate to bring up UConn again, but them losing to Georgia Tech is just kind of unusual. It's not heard of, but you're seeing the talent level kind of get surfaced to other teams, and they're starting to compete, and they're starting to, kind of make their own name as a school and really trying to build a culture with women's basketball. And I see it down there at Georgia Tech right now, but they might be blooming early. But it's just something I've been taking notice of as they continue to rise the ranks.
Yeah. Your dad made a comment, shout out to Terry McCord, our guy. We might have to get him a security escort on campus. He said, when is MSU basketball going to stop being mediocre? Hey, Terry, Brother McCord, I'm talking to your dad right now. Hey, I can't even. Okay, I like Susie. So let me say this. As TJ was so eloquently talking about Dawn Staley and what's going on, I think it's at its top with the person's ability to recruit. Yeah. You got Dawn Staley showing up to a top player and Susie Merchant. And maybe that's not a fair comparison, one of one or whatnot. But, Susie is right there in the shadow of a Hall of Fame coach. I think that what's happening with Michigan State basketball, that they are mirroring having Tom Izzo say, well, let's just stay here and do it. But that was shots fired right there, Terry.
I would say MSU women's is kind of content right now. where
very good word.
they're kind of like they're okay with competing and they're not the number one priority. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to losing players in your backyard. I mean, I've seen a number of in the Metro Detroit area go down to the SEC, go down. I mean, where's the recruiting pitch of playing in your backyard and playing for the home team? Like, where you bring your family up? I mean, NIL is a thing now. Like, you could have the backyard on your side, and I just feel like they're very content right now. They're bringing in talent from different places, which is fine. But when you have these top players in your backyard, you got to bring in at least one of them in the next 2 years just to bring something, to bring some energy. And I think right now it's kind of reached its peak with recruiting for Susie. And like my dad said right there, Nia. I mean, I feel like they're really wasting her talent right now because she's a stud. I have her right now, to me, as a top 15, maybe top 10 pick in the WNBA draft. I think she's that good. I just think that we're not able to see her right now because how bad the team's playing. But they're content, and they got to go get some Detroit girls. They got to.
There we go. Pass the plate for you, Terry. They say you preaching over here, Terry.
You got to recruit the backyard. It's essential because you're letting these talent. You letting the talent go to waste and go somewhere else. But I don't know if that's a priority to them, but it needs to be because these top players are going other places and killing it.
Yeah, I think that time is carrying the way. They said we got time here. Time is doing his thing. So be it, and it's happened like that. To that point, going back real quick, Who Ball a Scoop says, does Tom Izzo need a second title to get in the upper room of all-time best coaches like Coach K, Bobby Knight, Roy Williams, Dean Smith, and Jim Carroll? Hell yeah. And he think about it every day. Every day. And the fact that his boys, his contemporaries have retired, i.e. Jim Calhoun, Dean Smith a little bit, his predecessor, Bobby Knight, Coach K. Oh, he gonna ride it out.
Roy was at the game yesterday.
Say again?
I said Roy was at the game last night. He was sitting there courtside with his Carolina blue on.
At the Carolina game?
He was sitting at the MSU game.
He traveled up. MSU game.
He traveled up. And then they made a joke. They're like, they need to get him some MSU gear. He was in there with Carolina blue with that coaching face with his feet crossed.
Well, you know what it is, but nah, man, no. Kid knows more CFB than we know. That's Mr. Wilson right there. We're gonna get you in a second. But no, man, let's just say I think everybody knows, and Aaron agreed. Yeah, he needs that. And the sad part about it is that, Tom Izzo's a Hall of Fame coach. He'll always be a Hall of Fame coach. And it's sad that we can even try to split hairs, one championship versus two. However, we know that second chip puts him in a different space. And it's almost like, the VIP section. You know what I'm saying? Those two guys in the round. So we'll see what happens or what he can make happen. But I just don't know if the current team he has the ability to go long and deep into the tournament to win that. But who knows, man? Desperately needs a second win. Let's take a break real quick. We're going to let the preacher Terry cool off for a second. Y'all can pass the plate. Y'all can make donations for the podcast to the SPS Edge, at a Cash App. That's our form of passing the plate around here. But Terry is definitely represented. But again, we want to just shout out our great sponsors. We want to shout out Dick's Sporting Good. Shout out to Dick's. I can live there, man. Love me some Dick's Sporting Good, as well as Gilead Sciences and all the great work they're doing, and the Horatio Williams Foundation. We will be down. I'm getting text messages right now. SPS will be in the building at the Freedom Classic over at River Rouge High School. 7 games. That's right, 7 games on the lineup, and it's going to be a great day with that. So, as we keep going, Terry, I think it's been good. We've been working our way through, and I want to go back through the comments to make sure we are getting everybody's comments. We want to make sure everybody's involved. But now we can talk a little bit of NBA basketball. People were already leaning into that, man. And Lloyd Banks, a rapper back in G Unit, had a rap. He's like, I got the Grizzlies on me like Stromile Swift. That's the name you ain't heard in a long time, Stromile Swift. You remember that name, Terry?
I don't.
For your time. Okay, you gonna have to do some research. Stromile Swift was he was with the Grizzlies when they first started that expansion team, and Shaquille O'Neal had picked him to win a slam dunk contest because he was sick. So you Stromile Swift, do some research on that. But right now, baby, we talk about Ja, baby. Ja Morant is on fire. He's on fire right now. Young team, just about everybody on that team is 23 years of age. And speaking of age, we got somebody we know who's a Grizzly. Shout out to X-Man and his beautiful family that's growing and growing and growing. They're going to have twins by the summer. He's celebrating his birthday, I want to say today. As a matter of fact, Xavier Tillman, man, that's a great young man. That's my guy, man. He was so mature. Even when he was there, I always enjoyed talking to him, kicking it with him. Really nice young man. Swift went to LSU. Thank you, Stromile Swift, man. Did Aaron know about that? But no, man, let's talk about these Grizzlies. They're saying they can really be a contender in the Western Conference. They're so young, and I think this is a cool little piece of information. Check this piece of information out. Their GM is an attorney, and he came from the same law firm that David Stern worked at, as well as Adam Silver's father. So put that together, how they get down like that. So that's that's the general manager. They got a young team. Jaren Jackson Jr.'s contract is going to be up. They want to sign Bane again. I mean, dude. And then also, they doing good because when Ja Morant stared down the young kid, the fan wearing the Golden State Warriors, hey, the press didn't come for him. The fact that winning solves everything, that he was able to do that, and he got that good media support to be able to get that. That's it. Yeah, that's Rod Wilson talking about. Yeah, Stromile played at LSU. He had major hops. You're right about that. I don't want to miss Kyrie said Tom Izzo even said he wants 2 titles if you want to be one of the great. Oh yeah, that's from the man himself. So man, what's your take on the reality of a Golden State? A Memphis Grizzlies team going all the way? And here's the one thing I'll add: 23-year-old. One thing that concerns me, man, other than Steven Adams, man, they need some veteran presence. They need a veteran presence. I don't care what you say, man. You could be a young, great, youthful team, man, but when you get down to them offs, them playoffs, you know what I'm saying? And I agree with you, Rod Wilson. Ja is a real problem, but he ain't going to be able to do it by himself. So it's going to really be up to, depending on how the season go, man, they get some veteran leadership that can help them. Somebody that's been there. I mean, I'm going to throw out a name that sounds crazy, but somebody like an Andre Iguodala, who's not necessarily playing, but can tell these guys how to win, man, because when you get to these playoff situations, it just won't be about energy and excitement. It's going to take some veteran support to help you do that. What do you think about the whole idea about the Grizzlies being on fire, Terry?
Yeah, I think right now, so the Grizzlies have taken quite a bit of lumps. I remember that year when they were in the playing game in the bubble when they lost to Dame and company in the bubble, and Ja, kind of the team kind of had a meltdown there, and then the year after, they losing in the playing game. So it's just like right now it's like they've taken their lumps. Ja Morant has been very adamant about losing and letting the fans down, and you could just see that they rallied behind him, which is why he didn't get no kind of heat for staring that kid down. Because Ja just he loves the game so much. We see his passion, loves the kids, respects the game. I think not only does he love it, he respects it. He cares about getting better. He cares about getting his teammates better. He cares about the city, and he's repping the city. So it's just you love to see him kind of come up. I do agree that they do need a veteran presence, but I guess it's a good thing.
Along with Steven Adams.
Yeah, along with them. And I think the good thing with their GM being from a law firm, they're going to have to start managing some contracts, because this is where
listen to Terry talk that talk. Go ahead.
Where younger players are together for a minute. We're talking about extensions like Jaren Jackson trying to get paid. Ja's going to get paid.
Jaren's mother is an attorney, and she's I've met her before. She's no joke, and his dad being a former player, so they better come with the numbers for real for them.
Yeah, and it's just to the point where it's like adding another piece. What does that look like future terms
because you add another piece, Terry, somebody got to go.
Yeah, someone has to go.
The value has to go,
and you'll see it too, because that person coming in may have a nice salary where they have to adapt and make some moves. So he might be going out to bring him in, or he might be out the next year. So I'm just really interested on how it goes. But
I want to add another point to what you said. You brought up a good point when you talked about, the city of Memphis and all that. And then my question is Memphis a mature enough basketball city for a successful basketball team? And what do I mean by that? They talked about, when Ja came back, maybe some say prematurely, how they responded to him. Are they just so caught up on their barbecue? And I say that jokingly, that they can't know how to support a team the right way. And I think sometimes, man, and I don't know this, and I have to talk to people who are on the ground, maybe talk to X-Man, he'll be able to say it, off the record. But, can they appreciate these guys enough to make these guys want to be here when things don't happen right? Because I don't know, man. It'll be great if they can push through. I mean, they've had success over teams, man. They've beaten major teams 2 times, which is a good sign. But like I said, as my homeboy Demetrius Blackshear says, when the offs come, it's a totally different game. And are they ready for that?
Yeah, and it's, it's grit and grind part 2 with Mike Conley, Zach Randolph, that team, Mark Gasol. So it's like it's grit and grind part 2, but we're seeing them take things to another level in the regular season that I feel like Conley and them didn't ever reach. But, I mean, there's still time, though. I might be not giving them enough props, grit and grind part 1, but I do think that this team has a little bit more flash, and I feel like their outside presence shooting the ball is actually been really good. And I think that's what's making this team a lot better this year.
Yeah. Your friend, your buddy Neda chimed in real quick. She said, "Hey, fellas, just want to show some love. I'm late. I'm so impressed your mother knows sports, and that picture she took with John Madden is epic. Did she play sports? I love when women know their sports. Y'all have a great show, and I got to go cook dinner." And then she also said she loved that y'all get all the questions answered, even if they're not on the script. She respect that. And here you go, Neda. My mom said, "I love sports. Can't play nothing." But your mama did. Your mama played basketball. But let's not trip, though. Yeah, mama got those pictures with John Madden, you know what I'm saying, hanging out with the man and stuff. But my mama was always at the fights. Don't downplay it. And her uncle John, the late Uncle John, was a boxer. He used to spar with Joe Louis. And my mom used to be at the fight. What would you say, Mama? Hit him, Uncle John. Hit him, Uncle John. So my mom been around the game, and obviously it's been passed on to me, and she's always encouraged that. And talk about boxing. She's watching The Zone right now. She can tell you any and everything about boxing. So my mom is about that life, and I'm very fortunate. Speaking of those other comments, I want to try to get in and see if we can swoop up a few. That's right. My grandmother Madeline played point guard. Yeah, she loved to shoot that rock, man. She loved to shoot that rock. Kyrie had a couple things. Kyrie said, Tom Izzo, they call him Mr. March, but he would want to be called Mr. April. That's when you win the title. You're right. But it's that March Madness that make them want to say that. Also, too, some other person I may have missed. To Kyrie's point earlier, he talked about Dame Lillard, having one of his worst years. It's just bad. It just worked out bad, man. Because remember, for the last 2 seasons, people was talking about all those trade rumors for Dame, but Dame didn't want to leave. And I wonder if Dame saying, "Damn, I could have been Dame Lillard with the Lakers instead of, Russ Westbrook, whatever. Somebody put something out, said wanted Russell Westbrook running for stealing $44 million. And they said they say he was last spotted with 2 bricks. It just happened like that, man. You never know how it's gonna happen, how it's gonna work out. Terry, we are talking some great stuff here. We're talking about basketball on every level, man. And what we can do, man, we can just move on to what I know you be ready for. We talk about that CFP National Championship, man. For those who stayed up late enough, you got to see the news. Kirby Smart in Georgia won the game. And all I gotta say is, we're so used to seeing Alabama win that it's almost like people apologize for Alabama not winning. But, man, you got to give it up to Nick Saban. This is not taking nothing away from Georgia. You got to give it up for this man that whenever you can win so much that people don't want you to win because you win so much, you're doing your damn job. Yeah. Whenever you can win so much that you make winning a national championship look easy, you're doing your damn job. Whenever you can win so much, Terry, that people who are sports people like ourselves and others who say for the most part, Obama go win. I mean, dude, it's almost like people say Bama go win like it's rigged. People say Bama go win like a certain team will get a lottery pick in the NBA. People say Bama go win like, like it's just expected. But man, shout out to Kobe Smart and them Georgia Dogs, man. It was all about that, man. They had success. So tell us about the CFP College Championship, Terry.
Well, it's good to see my man with the right hat on. I don't know if you saw the picture, but they had a Georgia player taking a picture with the Alabama championship hat on. So I don't know.
Oh, they fixed that. They had to fix that. It happened like that.
I don't know if the marketing team jumped the gun a little bit because they heard of Saban's success, but things changed, and a lot of that was the defense, man. They were able to put pressure on Young.
Defense wins championships in all sports, huh?
All of them, and we're seeing that in the NFL too, which I'll talk about later. But I mean, right now it's just they were able to pressure Young. They didn't allow him to step back there and find the holes in their defense. Man, it was just really, Georgia 4 sacks, 9 tackles for losses. Bama 9 for 20 on third down and 30 rushing yards. So one thing I noticed about Bama, Alabama, when they lost Mechie. And then losing Williams, Alabama really tried to rely on their running game to kind of allow their passing game to come alive with Brooks and Allen, but with Brooks and Hall, excuse me. But I just don't think that Georgia knew that, and a smart coach like Kirby Smart knows that and understands that Alabama's just trying to get settled with losing another top receiver that just declared for the draft today. They took that away from him. 30 rushing yards is horrible. I mean, any Alabama team. I know this team was very pass driven, and Robinson Jr. Was able to keep teams honest. But I mean, you really didn't have to hand it off to try and calm things down because it was havoc everywhere. Georgia flying around, making stops, and I saw something that really shouts out Georgia's athleticism. I saw that it was a linebacker, Ringo, was guarding a receiver as a corner, as a linebacker. He's a rush linebacker. He's playing rush linebacker all year. He was matched up at corner. He was usually the bottom screen. But just the presence of mind, just to be able to have that and then cover that with your defense. I don't know if it was a scheme, but Ringo was athletic. He's the guy that had the pick six at the end. Man, it's just Georgia was ready to play. They were ready to get over the hump, and they were ready to prove that they were the best team in the nation because let's think about it. Back SEC championship game, Alabama needs to win. They've already suffered their loss to Texas A&M. They need to win in order to get into the college football playoff. Georgia doesn't really have to win. Georgia's like, hey, we lose to the number 3 team. We get bumped down to probably 3 or 4. We're still in. They can't kick us out 1 loss. We hear the hate. Alabama beats them down. They get punched in the face. They're upset about it. The next team in their way, like we said last week, Michigan was just catching stray bullets because Georgia knew that, hey, we are here to get our get back against Alabama. Kirby Smart wanted it too. Everybody, because Georgia kept losing to Alabama. Just just a streak of just losing to Bama in big games.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
And they just kept losing. And they were just hungry for that moment. I think Alabama, I can't say they weren't hungry, but you just couldn't see the tenacity that we're used to seeing because Georgia just wanted it that much more, and their defense proved it. I think their quarterback did a great job of being able to take advantage of what the defense was able to position him. He was able to capitalize and make very big throws. But I just feel like Georgia's defense took over and didn't allow Bama to get comfortable and allow themselves to adjust, losing their 2 receivers.
Yeah, shout out to your dad, man, saying didn't Coach Orlando Watkins predict Georgia win the championship? And Orlando in this smooth way said, I got Georgia.
He did. I remember that he predicted.
Yeah, I mean, it's only so much, man, but I think it speaks to the greatness, man. And again, Kirby Smart, man, is off that Nick Saban coaching tree. You know what I'm saying? You want a job in high-level football, you better get down with Nick Saban, from Mel Tucker on. I just think it's a lot to be said about that. And I wonder, do you see Georgia right back in it? Are they going to reload and be right back? Or do you start seeing a little bit more parity, right now? I mean, we had the same conversation with Amarella and UConn. We talked about, their dynasty. This is definitely a dynasty right here that we're seeing. Do you have some parity? And I wonder what them Alabama fans, I'm talking about them straight, state of Alabama, Rose Tiders, are they like, whoa, we'll get them next time? Or are they tripping? Because like I said, man, you don't really know how people feeling you until you don't got what you used to have. You know what I'm saying? So I wonder how that's going to be. And I wonder what that's going to do with recruiting. Does that shift recruiting in a significant way towards Georgia or other schools? Or it's just, hey, every dog has a day they had their chance, and so be it. What do you think?
I think it helps Georgia a little bit Alabama fans are complaining about losing their receiver, refs. Like Alabama fans come up with a lot of excuses. But
like,
I mean,
like Ohio State fans. Oh no, I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I mean, I just feel like Alabama doesn't have much to really complain about. I mean, they're used to always being on the other side of things, but I think Nick Saban still always has the edge, though. I mean, he can come into your room with all the rings and championship rings on his finger, and he's like, "You decide, you choose." I mean, him coming into your house is already enough for me. Like Saban to go visit you is saying a lot. You know, and what's that quote you say with Calipari? Like, we want you, but we don't need you.
He get off the jet with his Gucci loafers on, his jeans and a blazer, with his salad that his wife made him because he's going back home to eat dinner. And he go up in their house and say, "I want you, but I don't need you. I want you, but I don't need you."
and they're just gonna reload, and we don't see.
They still want to go to Alabama. Still, they want to go to the league.
And they know it's a guaranteed ticket over there. Even the guy, the running back, Robinson, was backups to so many great backs, and he's on his way to possibly get drafted second or third round, maybe even first, depending on how he performs in the combine. But Alabama's always going to have that edge just because of the presence.
I agree, but also it goes down. Let's not take anything from Kirby Smart. I mean, he's a national champion now, but it goes on to how you get coached at Alabama. I mean, you watch any type of Nick Saban footage, man, and how he's like, you do it right, you know what I'm saying, until you do it wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about that mindset. We got Coach Orlando Watkins chiming in. He said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, I did." Shout out to Terry McCord. I sent him the screenshot. He said, "Yeah." He gave me 3 thumbs up and said, "Yeah, I did." Hey, give Coach his props, man. That's it. Oh, man, that's something to see. Why don't we just keep it rolling, man? Let's roll right on into the NFL, man. We got it going. Hey, that's all what them Alabama and Georgia players go do. Roll right into the NFL, So let's Terry keep us going with what Rod Wilson says is the best NFL update, on all of the internet. We appreciate that. So with that, Terry, what do you have for our NFL update?
Well, with the NFL, I just, go ahead and speak the obvious. A lot of coaches are being fired. A lot of people are looking for new homes and new places to locate. They had to go home and tell their wives that we got to pack up. So, Pat, hope you brought light to this house because, the Texans coach was out within a year.
Hey, man, hey.
And
that – hold on for a second. That's disrespectful, dog. That's disrespectful.
In a year.
But what you've done is – and that was a black man too.
Right.
But what you've done is – we're going to talk about the curious case of Coach Flores in a second.
Mm-hmm.
What you've done is – you hurt your organization because why would I want to come play coach for you?
Right, exactly.
I know that you set a precedent that you will fire somebody after one season, black or not.
Right.
I was just like, look, what are you thinking? But go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I think right now with these coaches, it's a coaching carousel. I mean, Flores got an interview with the Bears, and I think right now, I think these coaches that are coming up. I mean, I hear people interviewing executives. Scouting, they're going everywhere for these guys because they know it's a dime a dozen for a good coach to stay there very long. And right now they're trying to see, and coaches are seeing, is this a good fit for me? And I think a good question every coach should ask is, hey, do you see me here long term? And what's the ask? What are your standards here? Do you want me to win now? Do you want me to build and plan for the future and then win later? And I think those are important things that coaches have to evaluate with themselves in their career. Can I build this team? Is this team set up for me to win now? And they're asking me to win now. Or is this a team where they're like, hey, come in. We love you're a great developer. We love what you can do with our team. Have at it. We're going to give you the resources. Go at it. And I think that's what we're seeing where coaches are like, I don't really want to get in this because I just been fired from something I thought they had my back. And so I think it's just really hard with that. But now we get into playoff ball, as we say, the offs. And I think right now there are a ton of matchups that I'm seeing where I don't want to be the Cowboys and I don't want to be the Bengals right now. And I say the Cowboys because the 49ers are the exact kryptonite that the Cowboys don't want to see. I mean, just they run the ball, which
we don't want to see that.
They run the ball, which the Cowboys like to go after the quarterback. So that's a immediate something that you highlight as a running team. We're going to force them to tackle us. We're going to force them to tackle our running back. And so I think that's something right there. But there's just a ton of great matchups, man. The Bills and Patriots part 3, Raiders Bengals, which is going to be a good one. Chiefs Steelers, I think is going to be better than people think, just because the Steelers have been counted out and they made the playoffs for a reason. Give them their props. They made it. Cardinals Rams, another great divisional rivalry matchup, similar to the Patriots and Bills, where they both split, but both played each other really hard. I think the Cardinals' first game caught the Rams slipping, but the Rams found them out and kind of figured out what they need to do to win. We talked about 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles versus Bucks. I think that has Tom Brady written all over it. I just don't think the Eagles are ready yet, but, things can happen. I mean, Brady has his guy, Chris Godwin, out, which has been Brady's favorite target, in my opinion. Mike Evans is always going to be on the outside, but Godwin can just change plays with his feet and just get open always. So, but Titans, number one seed, Packers, number 1 seed. They'll face the lowest seed out of those games starting this Saturday. But man, I just, Colts fans, I really feel bad. And it's on Hard Knocks. I got to watch it. They have their head coach, Colts head coach, really giving that motivational speech about coming into next year, and I got to check it out, so I can't really speak too much on it. But, man, losing the Jaguars, you had one job. And it makes me think of that College Game Day, that segment they have where they're like, you had one job. That game could literally be the whole segment because you had one job to beat the worst team in the league, and you couldn't get it done. It's not like you were playing the starters. You're playing the second group. You're playing your starters to make it. So it's like that very bad loss. But I just think right now we're going to see a lot of interesting matchups. And it's a really good time for your defense to be hot, which the 49ers do. They're starting to click with Debo. And Jimmy G's thumb may be a problem with making throws, as we saw that playoff clinching game. But I think we're just going to see a lot of interesting matchups. And star players got to step up. This is where you earn your contracts because this playoffs right now is so even across the board, 1 through 7, as we've seen it come down to literally the last moments of the Sunday night game. There are just so many teams that could just break out and win one, and we wouldn't even see it coming.
Yeah, you're right, man. So much has happened with the NFL. I mean, you started at the top of the portion with that, talking about this coaching carousel. I mean, you talked about, Matt Cullen being fired after a year with the Texans. We're going to finish talking about Brian Flores, but it is this coaching carousel, and I just think that, despite, good playoff ball happening, but another theme that we got, man, is that you just can't just expect to get up and go let you beat him. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about the teams that lost. Let's talk about the teams that won. I think it's saying that you just not go, just be the man. And as a team, and maybe that was the message that's being told to these, in these locker rooms, like, man, you a man. And everybody predicting you lose. You don't have to lose. That's Texas Tech upsetting Baylor. I mean, that's the number 19, with number 1. I just think that it's so easy for the underdog to lock in and have a sense of purpose, and it's so easy also for the one who's predicted to win to lose sight of what's important and thinking somebody go lay down, and it does not happen. Terry, we're approaching the hour mark, man, and we've had a great show. But I want to finish, man, with a topic I think that's very important. Got people asking me about some of these great players out here. Let's talk about the curious case of Brian Flores. That's right, fired after 2 straight seasons above 500. Now, I'm going to go a little bit deeper with the Miami Dolphins and their owner, billionaire Ross, correct, who's a Michigan man. I'm going to go a little bit deeper. When Colin Kaepernick was, being looked at and trying to find a home, I thought personally that he was going to go to the Miami Dolphins, and let me tell you why. Stephen Ross started an organization called Rise. It's an organization about individuals who were helping, deal with race relations. It was led by now Secretary of State in the state of Michigan, Johnson Benson, who was connected with him, through her work in politics, and some great people involved. And I was involved at one point. I was, a speaker for them. I spoke at the African American Museum, And since we're talking about, my mom and her history, the African American Museum, Detroit, my grandmother, my great grandmother Bessie Summerlin, her home used to be there. That used to be what's called Black Bottom. That was our our Paradise Valley, but they ran the freeway through there, et cetera. Anyway, the reason I thought that Stephen Ross would bring in, Colin Kaepernick is that he was already getting out in front of these racial issues. He was getting out in front, but I was very, very disappointed. I was very, very disappointed that the same person that had started this racial equity type program didn't step up and put his money where his mouth was and really prove a point. And then, remember the dude Incognito that was saying the racist stuff? I mean, they brought him in at one point. So Stephen A. Ross, I think, is full of shit. Yeah, I said it. And I try to be careful because of these influential people and all that, but you yet to prove that you really about that life. He has ties to Michigan, the state of Michigan, or whatever or not. But to me, to fire this man, how can you justify it? And I know I sent you a note offline, Terry, that there was this exchange between him and Tua, but the reporter was quick to say it was nothing like the exchange between Shula and Dan Marino. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what a coach and a quarterback having some words. Oh my God!
Happens all the time.
Like where did this happen at? So I wish the best to Coach Flores. I think it's bringing up those same old issues again that you can't argue and not consider factual. Side note: the Michigan State Police is under investigation because there was a third-party study done by Michigan State University about some biases in them and who they determine they pull over. African Americans are more likely to be pulled over by the state police in the state of Michigan and searched compared to all other races. And, Joe Gasper, who I remember when I was with Governor Granholm's office, he was the head of the security detail. He's the colonel now. Kyle Bowman, who's my guy, he's there. One of the other lieutenants, I forget Kyle's rank, but you can't tell me that things don't have racial implications or a racial background when I just keep seeing it. This man, you mean tell me, brother, dude, 2 seasons, he's out with a winning record. 1 season, my man is out. And then we saw it happen with the Lions. Campbell comes in, you get these last wins towards the end of the season, whatever, whatnot. But you're not even better than the previous coach that they had, Caldwell. So, man, I'm tired of it, man. I'm just tired of it. I hope he's going to land somewhere good, and I hope it works out. He can go back and beat the brakes. I want him to beat the. I don't got nothing against a Dolphin. I'm an animal lover, I guess, but I want him to beat the snot out of them Dolphins every time you see them because it makes no sense. You cannot justify it, and it's just a sleight of hand where you can say for whatever reason. Lastly, the standard that African American coaches have compared to any other coach. Man, come on, man. These coaches are getting fired now are in their 4th, 5th season right now. Been losing since their 1st season. They in their 4th, 5th season, finally getting fired. And here's the killer. They gonna get jobs other places.
Yeah.
And everybody talking at Brian Flores, it ain't even a done deal until I see he signed a contract and he's somewhere. It's not even a done deal. And he's gonna get a good position. So that's me, semi-soapbox. What you got to say about the curious case of the firing of Coach Brian Flores?
I think Brian will get another job somewhere. I mean, just with that stat alone, 2 straight above 500 seasons. I mean, we're seeing teams
with the whack-ass Dolphins.
Yeah, and it's just the consistency that I think teams are really gonna flirt with this. And I think the Bears, shouting him out and wanting to interview ASAP after firing Nagy. I just think that right there just proves that. I wouldn't be surprised if he go ahead and gets a job with Denver because Fangio just couldn't get it done over there, but his team was playing for him. The Broncos is a team where they're in a tough division, and I think Flores saw that with the AFC East. So it's nothing new, but that defense that the Broncos have is really good. The quarterback spot is a bit of an issue. If they have Bridgewater healthy, it's okay. But I just think that I feel like Flores goes to not the Dolphins, but the Broncos, and he kind of makes himself known over there because I just think that's an interesting spot. Yeah. I feel like he can really thrive with his energy and being able to be consistent over there because the Broncos could have easily have been a playoff team. They just had a couple of letdowns, but I just think that the whole situation, having that report come out about the argument, it's just another narrative being made where it's like, oh, he had a bad relationship with his quarterback. It's like, well, Joe Judge with the New York Giants, they have been horrible. I mean, is there something going on in there? But I just think heated discussions aren't something alone to fire him. If it's something that's constant where these dudes can't even be in a room together, okay, we get that. But I think we would know that early enough and he'd be already out of the door. And there's no way they go on that 7-game win streak with two guys who can't even stand to look at each other. So I just think that right now, I think Tua still trying to find himself in the league. I just think that they're picking their – it seems like with the narrative right now, if this is true and they made that decision because of the heated exchanges, they're picking their draft pick over a solid coach, which is an interesting move that I hope works out for him as somebody that looks into the game. You really hope it works out because you did invest in it. But it's a bold move because quarterbacks and coaches, like you mentioned with Shula and Marino, they go back at it all the time. It's just like you're calling the play for him to run. And if he doesn't like it, he's going to let you know. If you don't like his play, you're going to let him know. Man, McCarthy and Rodgers would go at it at each other. And LaFleur and Rodgers go at it still. It is what it is. But I think, if they just feel like there was no growth in that, okay, I see it. But like, there just wasn't enough evidence to make it a good firing, in my opinion. I just
Jerry,
didn't
you touched on something, man. I want to stay with your point. I mean, you kind of laid it out there directly or indirectly. Is it because it's a black man that's going back at the quarterback? Despite the quarterback being a minority himself, is it because the power that Brian Flores holds? You just named all these other great quarterback-coach relationships, Super Bowl, winners or whatever or not. But the only different factor is this is a black man who's wielding power and going back. And it just could very well be that they can't handle that. It's just this extreme double standard that's there all the time. You got these other coaches who can get away, do all kinds of stuff. Look how long. I mean, you even think about your boy wasn't even let go immediately. We're talking about oh my God, former Ohio State coach who's with the Jaguars. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank. I'm looking at him.
Meyer, yeah.
Yeah, Urban Meyer wasn't like fired overnight. I mean, he got video, rubbing on women and, all this kind of stuff and kicking players and all these other issues, and then we hearing there may have been an argument. Like that wasn't even newsworthy. Whoever put that out there as trying to be that, but I'm just saying, man, I mean, this is what we deal with. Hope you land somewhere well. But also, too, I think it hurts the Dolphins more than anything because so you want a coach that's not going to be a strong coach because I don't know what else you go get because you go get somebody who go along and get along, whatever. Well, now look at my mom and she say Doug Williams let go after Super Bowl win, right? It'd be crazy, man. It'd be crazy. And I just think that despite, football being dominated by African Americans as it relates to players, there's a different mindset when it comes down to leadership roles and what's happened. I mean, come on, Matt Cullen fired after a year? A year? Come on, man. A year, one black coach and 2 years for the other.
And Texas didn't give him none. Texas didn't give him anything to work with.
No, they didn't. And the whole point, and Texas got a lot of nerve because they don't have no quarterback right now considering what they're going through with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But with that being said, man, I'm grateful for our platform to have a place. I appreciate you, Aaron. Aaron was like, speak your piece. And I want to get it out there. And Terry, you made some excellent points because when you just broke it down, simply put, saying, look at all these other things that are going on. It's making me, really get a side out. Like, for real, this is what we're dealing with. But you'll be a coach in the NFL one day, and we'll better support you all the way. And hopefully these are issues that we can get by. But if they're continue to remain issues, hopefully we can have the right kind of support. Oh, last thing on this Denver tip, Denver might have a new owner named Jigga Man. Out there, Jay-Z, they said there's been a strong interest in Jay-Z getting involved with the Broncos. And, if Jay-Z becomes the owner of the Broncos, he's going to shift the culture. There's going to be so much support behind it. The Denver Broncos are going to become the hottest team in the NFL. And with that comes a lot of revenue, a lot of opportunity. So Brian Flores, Jay-Z, Denver Broncos, and you heard it here on the SPS Edge Show. Everybody be rocking Broncos. Jay-Z go drop a new verse, and Brian Flores go be the man. So I'm just saying, keep that in mind, So you got anything else you want to add tonight before we get out of here, Terry, on the SPS Edge Show?
There's a game that just tipped off, Wisconsin and Ohio State at Madison. So that's another game. Two teams tied for second in the Big Ten. Definitely want to check that out.
Is that because it's Ohio State?
No, that always, but just two teams that play really well, and can the Badgers really pull off a big one at home? I think this is very important. If you get a good team that comes to your home court in conference play, you got to take care of business. So both teams looking to catch up to Michigan State and Illinois. So one team will be third. We'll see which one it is.
Yeah, we'll see. Terry, appreciate all that you do and all that you bring to the show. SPS will be putting out some great interviews come this weekend. Probably Sunday you'll see that. You'll have a little bit of time to watch that on Monday. The Monday motivation will still be in effect in the observance of Dr. Martin Luther King. It's only the right thing to do. I'll give you a little prequel. We're going to talk about King Dreams and go from there. So with that, this is Lindsey hosting with SPS with my guy, Terry McCord Jr., the most able-bodied co-host in America, if not the world. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace.